That's My Bag by Eddie Lahti. Affixed in a slightly rolled state, only as gravity hangs it, we call that end bottom. But the backing, with its sticky adhesion, a custom hole cut to fit the modified end tucked and puckered starfish kiss, blows odoriferous, sputters and spits, at first surgical mucus, then a brownness, slippery oozing post-deliciousness, excrement and ferment, defecation deposits. There is a clear side window which won't hide. The contents aren't divine, under my shirt away from sunshine. I don't keep eyes that pry from the slippery, pinkish, candy red, scallop squishy stoma head. I flaunt what I've got, not camera shy. I'll get shot, lenses bend, the lit end, and I'll send pics to my friends. The inside is real smelly, but the side that touches my belly has a fabric slip, so it can drift across my skin, comfort to soothe the discomfort within. Well, it means a lot. I can relate because I've experienced having an ileostomy twice myself, and Eddie captured it in a humorous way. Well, for me, it's been the uncertainty of, when I'm going to feel safe and not have any accidents, so to speak, because of the nature of the ileostomy I had. That's one part of it. That's probably the scariest part day to day. So I have to really control my environment and that's a drawback, I would say, a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful to be here, and because of surgery such as this, I'm still around. So living with it day to day has its challenges, certainly, but the other options are not so good.
Yeah.
I met Eddie, and he came to our house with you, and plopped himself down in the rocking chair, and he kind of reminded me of Eddie Haskell. He was so sweet. But I know Eddie was always there for you, and that was one of the things I really liked about Eddie. I got a kick out of Eddie. And then we got to know each other as time went on professionally, actually, because I worked for a nonprofit, and then I went to my current job. And at both times we were able to use Eddie's services to purchase t-shirts. One for my former nonprofit organization I worked with, Urban Options, and then for Recycle-Rama. And for those folks that have volunteered for Recycle-Rama since it began several years ago, you've been wearing Eddie's shirts. The other part of that was, Eddie and I would stay in touch. And what was nice about that for me is, my son, Quincy, you were gone, living in another state or away at college. And, Eddie and I had that connection. He missed you too. And we would both have talked to you maybe recently, and we'd share that. And it was nice. Being with Eddie made me feel close to Quincy. Vivacious. I mean, that's the word. It just pops out. He was full of beans, and full of dreams. And as I've often said to Quincy throughout this endeavor, Eddie was right. Dream big and positive. And that was the other thing about Eddie. He stayed pretty positive, even though he got knocked down a few times, and he picked himself up. And the other part of Eddie that I think everyone knows is just what a remarkable friend he is to everyone that came across him. He was true blue, and friends come and go, but Eddie was one that stuck around. Sure, I remember one of them was a real estate program, and to sell efficient houses, energy efficient houses. As those that might know me, that's my background. And he had good ideas, and actually, they may have seemed a little far-fetched to folks at first, but that was one of those ideas that is actually something that's being done now. The realtor community is taking that aspect of a home more into account, and so he was always kind of ahead of his game type of thing. He was one step ahead, and that's a challenge sometimes. But his ideas were good. You'd want him to tone it down sometimes. Get realistic, but then why not? Why not dream big? Well, I heard it first from you, Quincy. That's how I got the news, and then we talked. And of course, I visited Eddie right away, and we talked then about it. And at that time we were still learning what the condition was, and what his prognosis was. And as a survivor of cancer myself, and some other recent illnesses, I was very positive and hoping for the best. But as far as Eddie's relaying it to me, again, he was fighting the fight. He was going to fight it, and he wanted to live very much. And but he seemed always willing to deal with whatever card he was dealt. There was an underlying understanding that I think he had of the situation that impressed me. Having had that scare, and gosh, I wondered many times why I'm still around and other friends are not. It's an interesting feeling. I just feel very fortunate to have met Eddie and been able to share that journey. He was very much in touch then as to what I had experienced, and I think that made it comfortable for us to talk about it. Mainly the care. A lot of it was about the care, and who getting into the logistics of it, and what kind of tests he was getting, and how he was feeling that was going. And at times he was frustrated, and other times he was hopeful and willing to give it everything he could. And so that was mainly a lot of the conversation, was trying to get to the bottom of what was occurring to his body and what could be done. And eventually dealing with the reality. Heartbreaking, to see someone so full of life, go through trying to accept what was happening to him. And for all of us, his family, his friends around him, doing the same, it was difficult, as everyone knows. A lot of people shared in that grieving. But at the same time, he commanded that we stay upbeat and we stay positive, and we were going to tell stories right up to the end. And that, and you were the same way. We were going to keep this alive, be alive, and not ready, be in mourning ahead of time. And that meant a lot to Eddie. I think that really meant, we all know that meant a lot to him. Goodness, I never saw so many people in a hospital room at all times. And a lot of good times, a lot of good talks, stories shared. I didn't experience, as much as some, but it was good to see, and Eddie felt it all. He was feeling every moment. He was very aware of all of it, of all the life around him. I was just incredibly touched by Eddie's family and friends throughout this whole process. And from a personal level, getting to know Eddie's family was a delight. That is a very, very supportive family, and they loved Eddie very much. And that part of it, and just seeing all his friends, it meant so much, that he meant so much too, dealing with the whole situation was a huge growing experience for so many young people, the age of my child, and experiencing all of you going through that loss was very intense. And but the sense of community was amazing, and that Eddie stirred a sense of community in this town that I think was needed. I don't know how else to put it. And people rallied, people came to back Eddie on the book and the movie, and it was just remarkable. And so I'm kind of rambling on here, but I'd say his family, the friends, the sense of community, and then there's something really important I want to add. It just popped into my head. I was hospitalized last winter for several months at the time that Walter the Whale was being released, and I was in the hospital with lots of nurses with grandkids and children. And let me tell you, Walter the Whale was a very popular item. And being nurses and knowing the story, they were all that more drawn to the book. So I can say I'm very happy I was in the hospital in both Lansing and Ann Arbor, and distributed probably about 15 Walter the Whale books. And I got feedback on that, and that was wonderful too. There was many delightful stories of they come, and when I was in the hospital, just cruising along, they would come back to me and tell the story of how they read the story Walter the Wings to their children, and how thrilled they were. So that made me feel good, and kind of helped me get through that whole period in a positive way.